Welcome to Confidently Unstoppable, the podcast where we empower you to transform your self-talk, elevate your mind, and build unstoppable confidence. I'm your host, Marilyn West. Each week, we will dive deep into mindset shift to help you break barriers and embrace your full potential. Let's get started. Hello, friends. Welcome back to another podcast episode. Before I jump into this podcast episode, I am so nervous. I have not dropped a podcast episode since February, and my nerves are all over the place because I have planned this episode out to the T. I recorded and then I decided not to drop it. I said, you know what? Let me pause and ask God to just lead me in what I need to do in this season with this podcast. I have a lot of emotions, you guys, because I started this podcast from a place where I was going through TSW. A lot of people struggle and go through TSW for 3 to 5 years. And I know it's because of their mindset, right? And that accountability and doing the work on the hard days when they didn't want to, being able to continue to push their body to detox. I started to shift the podcast a little bit, trying to inspire people more as I continue to finish up my degree as a licensed clinical mental health counselor, therapist, depending on, what state you're in. I'm just asking God to guide me with this podcast because I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about the person on the other side who see the title and hey, that message is for me. So in this season of life, I'm very intentional about my actions because many of you don't know, I financially retired myself at the age of 37. So anything that I do in this season, I want it to be for the purpose of serving God. And I want to make sure that my heart is in alignment with everything that I'm called to do. So the nerves that's coming in this podcast episode today, it's all over the place because it's so many things that I want to talk about. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump into this podcast episode. If you are a believer, pray for me, say a prayer for me. I know it's going to be delayed when you listen to it, but at the end of the day, continue to keep me in your prayer that God uses me in the way that He plans, because there's no way that this podcast show should still be in the top 10% in the world when I haven't dropped a podcast episode since February. So my friends, I just want to welcome you back to Confidently Unstoppable. I don't just want to talk about mental health the way that it's usually talked about, only when things are going wrong. Here, I want us to be about mental balance, learning how to show up consistently for ourselves to succeed in our goals that we want to reach, and learn how to stay grounded no matter what's happening around us. Life be life. And when I look at this year, I went through so many different seasons of life. Happiness, trauma, grief. My grandmother passed away. I relocated from North Carolina to Florida to my dream home. I know a lot of people on these podcasts are saying, don't buy a home, don't buy a home. I say, know what you can afford, and it's a buyer's market, not so much a seller's market, but I'm praying and ask God that our home in North Carolina sells pretty fast. So whether it's business, career, or life, you deserve to perform at your best without losing yourself in the process. And those are things that I really want to ground this podcast on. So my friends, I want you to understand that success starts in the mind. Mental balance means being clear on your vision while staying grounded in the present. For me, it wasn't just about dreaming of financial freedom. It was about aligning my daily mindset with my future self. My husband and I planned to move to Florida 10 years ago. We were on our way to Disney World and we drove from Kentucky to St. Louis to Florida and back to Texas. Y'all, we was all over the place. We was living our best life. We was road tripping while I was on leave. And we knew we wanted to retire in Florida because it was close to Jacksonville. We was like, hey, we could catch some football games. We could also catch basketball games if we wanted to head down to Miami. It's a straight flight for him to head home to Missouri. And I was about 5 hours away from my hometown in South Carolina. So even though we knew it wasn't something that we would be able to do in 2015, we planned it out. So when your thoughts, your goals are in balance, you stop reacting to life and start leaning into it. So you have to be mindful of your actions that you're taking day to day for your future self to reach your goals. So the next thing I want to talk about when you think about this podcast moving forward is performance and accountability. Many are not surrounded by the right people that are moving in the same direction you desire or who can inspire you. And I know from me being able to reach all the goals that I set for myself in life, it all played out the way that I wanted to because I stayed around like-minded individuals. And when I find myself in spaces that I just didn't feel comfortable in, I remove myself. Girl, you're not a tree. It's so important to be in spaces where you are truly celebrated. So you have to understand a mindset alone is not enough. It's the accountability, the performance to take it to the next level. It's about showing up even when you don't feel like it and holding yourself to the standards that you set for yourself. In my mind, and I showed this on my Instagram account as I was moving towards financial freedom, I would show them my numbers every month just to hold myself accountable. If I told them I was saving $2,000 or $3,000 a month, I need to be hitting that goal. If I said I was going to be investing and moving around my funds so I can make sure that I get a 24% return for the year, I was on it. Now, listen, don't ask me about stocks and investments now. I'm not really into it anymore. I still invest very heavily because I'm in school and you're investing. You have to be locked in. So my husband and I didn't just get here by luck. We stayed accountable to the grind, to the numbers, and to the habits that kept moving us forward step by step. And we also were surrounded by some great individuals. We have friends that we have gone into partnership with. And I tell people all the time, your network is your net worth. The next thing that I want to talk about that's going to be a content pillar for this podcast is success and growth. And that's accountability fueled by growth. Accountability. Back in February, I launched a Confidently Unstoppable community and I kicked it off with it only being $10 a month because I just want to make it accessible to as many people that's really trying to get in spaces and elevate themselves to do the type of self-reflection and do the work that they feel is necessary for themselves. So I didn't make it like a crazy number. So if this is something that you're interested in with the accountability, definitely click the link in the bio so you can learn about the group. The next 6 weeks is kicking off on October 13th. Shoot me a note over on Instagram if you're interested to let me know. So jumping back in, I want you to understand that real success isn't a one-time win. It's not that, hey, I had a great investment week, now I can just go slack off. No, it's about compound interest, doing the same thing over and over until you reach that actual goal. It's the results of consistent growth and refusing to settle. In life, you're going to have setbacks and it's okay. You just got to know how to continue to pull yourself up, keep going and building onto that momentum. Growth stretches you. It challenged your comfort zone. Anytime I walk into a room that I felt was bigger than me, I felt it inside. But guess what? I stayed in those places. I invest in myself. I go to those workshops because I want to be in spaces that's going to challenge me. And that's how you should be thinking too. You have to challenge yourself because it's going to shape you into someone capable of handling the success when it finally shows up. If I had became a millionaire overnight, I'm quite sure I probably would lose it overnight. This is why you see so many people who hit the lottery broke 2-3 years later, because they don't understand what it takes to keep that type of money. They don't understand what it takes to maximize that type of money for it to grow, because they didn't have to work hard to get it. So now they don't understand how to handle. If you end up with $100,000 overnight and you don't even know how to manage $100, trust and believe that 100,000 is going to be gone before you know it. So my friends, I just really wanted to come on here. Honestly, I just thank God that I was able to push through. This podcast episode is definitely longer than what I normally do, but I had the nerves because I just felt like the previous episode I recorded was not in alignment on how I felt that God was pulling me to really show up with this podcast. And I'm so grateful that I just had the nerves to redo it again. So, because of the mindset, accountability, and the focus of growth, I was able to financially retire myself at the age of 37. And I want people to understand that didn't happen overnight. It happened because we knew the future we wanted and stayed consistent in the present. And I had to explain this to a young lady I met. She was like, so you're retiring, but you're still back in school. I say, yeah, I want to always make sure I have some purpose in this world, and I can get out there and advocate and understand the right things to say and how to conduct myself when I'm advocating, and I'm just not out there making myself look like a fool. So I would challenge you with that same energy. I want to pour into you through this podcast to push you, to challenge you, and remind you your goals are possible if you believe in yourself. You too can accomplish the things that I have accomplished in your own timeline. So my friends, I hope this episode inspires you, gives you the strength to continue to show up for yourself and want more in life. Until next time, my friend. Thank you for tuning in to Confidently Unstoppable. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs a confidence boost. Until next time, keep evolving and becoming the best version of yourself.